is a simulation to model United Nations conference. As the Korean saying goes, 100 times hearing is better than 1 time seeing. So why don't we let us see the conference?
Thank you. The committee is now in session. Before we move on, we'll first start with a roll call. So when called out, delegations, please answer either with present or present and voting. Starting with Delegate Bolivia.
Present.
China.
Present.
France.
Present.
DPRK.
Present.
ROK.
Present.
Mexico.
Present.
USA.
Present.
UK. With 8 delegates present, the committee is now in session. Before we go on, are there any points or motions on the floor? And as there is no agenda set, the chair highly encourages delegates to raise a motion to set the agenda.
Motion.
Yes, Delegate of Bolivia.
Motion to set the agenda to agenda item A, establishing English as a global official language.
Delegate of China, which motion do you rise upon?
Motion to set the agenda to agenda B, methods to prepare for the apocalypse.
There has been a motion to set the agenda to agenda A and agenda B. However, as the motion to set the agenda to agenda A has been introduced first, the chair will entertain the motion to set the agenda to agenda A first. So before we move on to the voting procedures, are there any delegates wishing to speak for the motion to set the agenda to agenda A? Delegate of France and Bolivia in that order. Delegate of France, please approach the podium. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. This delegate believes that English is one of the most influential languages in the global society. And even today, we are speaking in English and we're communicating in English. Also, English is one of the most influential subjects in Korean education. So this delegate believes that the agenda A should be delivered first. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Please return to your seat. Delegate of Bolivia, please approach the podium. You have 60 seconds.
Your Excellencies, fellow delegates, this is the delegate of Bolivia. This delegate would like to first make remarks to the delegate of France for making a wonderful comment and opinion towards agenda item A. This delegate believes that if we have a universal official language, it means that we will have a unified society, a global society, in the sense of a global village. Moreover, delegates, look at agenda item B. This delegate believes that viewing agenda item A and having a discussion over agenda item A will be more fruitful rather than having a discussion over agenda item B. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Please return to your seat. Delegate of China, please approach the podium. You have 60 seconds.
Ni hao. Delegates, Your Excellencies, Honorable Chair, China is very offended by the fact that the countries are actually trying to set the agenda to A, when it is clearly seeable that Chinese is the #1 most spoken language in the world, followed by Spanish, and then English, which is actually third and not in the second place. So we believe that the country of China believes that it is more better to set the agenda to B because we must get ready for the end of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Please return to your seat. Now we'll move directly into the voting procedure for the motion to set the agenda to agenda A. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion to set the agenda to agenda A, please raise your placards high. With an overwhelming majority, this motion passes and the agenda is now set to agenda A, establishing English as a global official language.
Okay, so what we have seen just now was what happened first at the beginning of the conference was a roll call. So the chair called out delegations by alphabetical order and the delegates answered by present or present and voting. And then what happened was a motion to set the agenda. As you have seen before, a motion to set the agenda lets 2 delegates to speak for the motion. So the 2 delegates, Bolivia and France, have spoken that they should set the agenda to agenda item A. On the other hand, China did not want to set the agenda to item A, and in fact raised the motion to set the agenda to item B. So he was the one who appeared in the speech to vote against this motion. So as we can see, in the start of the conference, we have a roll call, and then usually what happens is the motion to set the agenda. Also, if you look at the delegate handbook, the blank pages are there for you to fill out and take notes of the speeches that will be demonstrated by the student officers through the speeches. So please pay attention. And also, this session has quizzes also, so if you want our small prize, you can still pay attention to our simulation as well. Moving on.
Before moving on, are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, Delegate of UK. There has been a motion to set the speaking time to 90 seconds. We'll move directly into the voting procedure. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion to set the speaking time to 90 seconds, please raise your placards high. With an overwhelming majority, this motion passes and the speaking time is now set to 90 seconds. The chair will now open up a speakers list. Delegates wishing to be added up on the speakers list, please raise your placards high. USA, UK, ROK, DPRK, Bolivia, China, Mexico in that order. Delegate of USA, please approach the podium. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, delegates. This is Delegate of the United States of America, and this believes that this strongly agrees with the fact that English should be the sole official language spoken in this global society, primarily because most of the English-speaking countries, including USA and UK, takes up a significant proportion of global economy, which means that the eradication of language barriers and the unification of global language would greatly enhance and foster the economic transactions between countries. And moreover, this delegate also believes that it will be much easier to enforce any international policies to each country. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The Delegate has 60 seconds remaining. How would you like to yield this remaining
To
time?
the point of information.
The Delegate has opened itself to points of information. Are there any POIs on the floor? Delegate of China.
Ni hao, Delegate. Delegate of the United States, is the delegate aware of the fact that Chinese, Hanmi, is the most spoken language in the world currently?
This delegate is aware of the fact that in terms of number, Chinese is the most spoken language in the world. However, this delegate is also aware of the fact that English is the language that is spoken in most diverse countries, including USA, Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, all over the world, whereas China is only spoken in some of the Asian countries. So, thank you.
Request for follow.
Granted.
Is the delegate aware that Spanish and French is spoken more diversely around the world than English is?
This delegate was not aware of the fact, but due to the time constraint, we'd like to respond that through note forms. So thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Please return to your seat.
Okay, so what happened just now was a point of information. A point of information was a question made by the delegate of China to the delegate of the United States. So because the delegate of the United States, after making his speech, he didn't consume all of his speaking time, but has remained some. So if he has some speaking time remaining, he can use this time to have a short Q&A session, sort of, by saying that delegate will open himself to points of information. So the point of information was a question in easier terms about the content of a speech. So in general debate, when a delegate who has made a speech in the podium opens himself or herself to points of information, the delegate in the audience can raise points of information to ask questions about the contents of the delegate's speech. Moving on.
Before we entertain the next delegate on the speakers list, are there any other points or motions on the floor?
Motion?
Yes, Delegate of Bolivia.
Motion to move into moderated debate for the duration time of 10 minutes, individual speaking time of 60 seconds for the purpose of having a faster flow of debate.
There has been a motion to move into a moderate debate for a duration of 10 minutes, individual speaking time 60 seconds for the purpose of accelerating the debate. Now we'll move directly into the voting procedure. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion to move into a moderate debate, please raise your placards high. With an overwhelming majority, this motion passes, and now we'll move into a moderate debate for a duration of 10 minutes. Are there any delegates wishing to speak? Delegate of DPRK, please speak into the microphone that is provided.
Okay, first of all, hail to our leader, Kim Jong-un, for granting me this opportunity to talk in front of other delegates in the United Nations. This delegate has been listening to all the comments by other delegates, as is the purpose of unifying the world language to English to be unification of the world, diminishing the world barriers, and also stimulating the international organizations. However, this delegate would like to state that the nations who are actually using English in terms of United States American and other nations who have a lot of ethnicities within their national borders are having problems even within their own national borders of not being able to unify themselves, whereas DPRK, using the ultimate Korean, is very unified within their own national borders. And also, this delegate would like to state that international orientation is just a source of United States of America and all the other leading nations to take over the dominance over the world international society. And therefore, this delegate would like to state that let's all delegates rebel together against United States of America. Hail Dongmu. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Please sit down. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak? Yes, delegate Bolivia.
What was the duration of this moderated debate? This delegate did not see the screen.
The duration is 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the kind of debate we're in right now, do you know what kind of debate we're in right now? Is a moderated debate as seen on the screen. A moderated debate usually works in two ways. First, it can act as a method to fasten up, accelerate the flow of debate. This happens because in moderated debates, people cannot yield their speeches to points of information, and they do not go to the podium, whereas in general debate, in the previous debate when USA spoke, he had to go all the way to the podium, which consumes time walking, and also he had to yield more times to points of information, or the chair had to ask the delegate of USA whether he would yield his time to something else. So this kind of procedure is not taking place during a moderated debate. Only a delegate speaks, rises in his seat, and then that's it for the speech. So because of this function, the moderated debate can act to accelerate the flow of debate. Second purpose is to allow the committee to focus on a more specific topic. So if a delegate felt that he wanted the delegates to discuss about, let's say, a specific agenda topic A. So he could raise a motion to move into moderated debate for the purpose of focusing on the specific agenda A. So in that purpose, you can make the entire committee focus on one more specific agenda topic. Moving on.
The time for our moderated debate has elapsed. Before we return back to the general speakers list, are there any points or motions on the floor?
Motion.
Yes, delegate RK.
Motion to move into unmoderated caucus for the duration of 10 minutes for the purpose of working on this draft resolution.
Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Seeing none, we'll move directly into the voting and directly move to the motion. There has been a motion to move into unmoderated caucus for a duration of 20 minutes. And we'll move directly into the voting procedure. Those wishing to vote for this motion, please raise your placards high. Due to the overwhelming majority, this motion passes, and now we'll move into unmoderated caucus for a duration of 20 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, this isn't what you will see in a normal session, but because this was a simulation, this was an abbreviated session of a unmoderated caucus. An unmoderated caucus, as you can see, lets the delegates to lobby one another. So this happens in a more complicated scale than general debate or moderated debate, because you have to think about what kind of delegates you need to approach or what kind of actions you will do, because only while in general debate and moderated debate, the only action you can take is making a speech or asking a question. In a unmoderated caucus, the variety of actions is more open. So you can write a resolution, you can gather up your allies, as probably China has acted to do by shaking hands with a lot of other delegates. And these kind of things happen in a unmoderated caucus. So for the set duration, a committee, when a delegate has raised a motion to move into unmoderated caucus and the motion has passed, can entertain this this duration for Almar Caucus. Moving on.
The time for Almar Caucus has now elapsed. Before moving back to general speakers list, are there any points or motions on the floor?
Motion.
Yes, Delegate ROK.
Motion to introduce a draft resolution.
That is in order. There has been a motion to introduce a draft resolution, KMUN-2013. Delegate ROK, please approach the podium.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, delegates. This is the delegate of ROK. This delegate would like to introduce a draft resolution regarding the agenda establishing English as a global official language.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, Delegate Bolivia.
Audibility. This delegate cannot hear the delegate speak in introducing the resolution. Could the chair please ask the delegate to speak a little bit louder and enunciate?
Thank you, Delegate of ROK. Please speak into the microphone and speak more loudly.
Operative Clause 1 encourages all English-speaking countries to assist English translation through methods such as but not limited to. Subclause 8, translation of official documents used by the government. Subclause B, providing educational materials for English education. Operative Clause 2 strongly urges for member states of the United Nations to abolish UN's official languages such as Arab, Chinese, and French within the exception of English to further promote the usage of English. Operative Clause 3 further recommends nations with other mother tongue language to promote the usage of English in ways such as, but not limited to, Subclause A, teaching English to children from the age of birth through public education. Subclause B, holding regular compulsory English sessions for adults and the elderly. And Subclause C, making a certain English proficiency a prerequisite for any procedures.
Yes, Delegate Mexico. Yes, Delegate.
The delegate ROK please specify operative clause 3, subclause B.
The subclause B is the delegate highly encourages the UN to encourage governmental education center to support public education for adults and elderly also, not only the children who are now getting education from their school. And before going back to her chair, she'd like to note that English becoming global language would be the most easiest compared to other languages because it is acknowledged that English is already used a lot in diverse countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Please return to your seat.
Okay, so what happened just now? In this part, you have seen 2 points and 1 motion total. Can you remember what they were? 1 motion and 2 points. Well, if you can't, I'll just tell you. 1 was the motion to introduce a resolution, and then what happened was point of personal privilege, and then point of clarification. First, I will explain about the motion to introduce a resolution. The script that you see on the screen is a draft resolution. This tells the delegates in one committee to have an agreement or an action plan. So if we look in the operative clauses, it says encourages all English-speaking countries to do something, strongly urges member states of the United Nations to do something, and further recommends. So this document is what is the result of a conference, and you will be writing these draft resolutions. By raising the motion to introduce a resolution, you are granted with 4 minutes to introduce the contents about the resolution. What happened after that, after a delegate has made the introductory speech for 4 minutes, is the point of clarification. After these speeches, when a delegate hearing the authorship speech to introduce the resolution has a question about the meaning, the terminology, or the acronyms in one resolution, he can raise point of clarification. And then ask the delegate who has introduced the resolution about, as the delegate of Mexico has, clarify more about operative clause B, operative clause 3, subclause B. So in these cases, point of clarification, different from point of information, is used to ask the delegate who has introduced the resolution to clarify more about the content. And finally, point of personal privilege, I think you may all know, is used because the delegate of Republic of Korea was not enunciating properly, and the delegate of Bolivia had problems hearing what the delegate of Korea was saying. Moving on.
The draft resolution KMUN-A1 has been introduced, and delegates may either discuss the resolution itself or the general agenda. Now, however, as of lunchtime, the chair highly encourages delegates to raise a motion to adjourn the meeting as it's near lunchtime. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, Delegate France.
Motion to adjourn meeting until end of lunchtime.
There has been a motion to adjourn the meeting until the end of lunchtime. Now we will move directly to the voting procedure. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion to adjourn the meeting, please raise your placards high. With a unanimous vote, the motion passes, and now the committee is now in the session is now adjourned until the end of lunchtime. Now we'll just presume that it's the end of lunchtime. So delegates, please come to order. We will now begin our session with a roll call. Delegates, when called out, please answer either with present or present in voting. Delegate of Bolivia.
Present.
Delegate of China.
Present.
Delegate of France.
Present.
Delegate of DPRK.
Present.
Delegate of ROK. Delegate of Mexico. Delegate of USA.
Present.
Delegate of UK. Now with 8 delegates present, now we will move back to general debate. However, are there any points or motions on the floor?
Motion.
Yes, Delegate of UK.
Motion to close debate on the agenda.
There has been a motion to close debate on the agenda. We will first entertain the motion. Delegates wish to speak against the motion to close debate on the agenda. Are there any delegates? Delegate of DPRK, please approach the podium. You have 60 seconds.
Greetings, delegates. This delegate would like to question all the other delegates. What do they actually do after submitting the draft resolution? We just went down, ate lunch, occasionally, okay, and then did nothing, and we're just closing the debate. This delegate has so many things to talk about upon the draft resolution, pertaining to the fact that it's not really for all the nations, but just for United States of America and other nations who are using English as their languages. For other nations such as DPRK and China, there's no such way that this kind of resolution should pass, and therefore we should debate more on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Please return to your seat. Now we move directly to the voting procedure regarding the motion to close debate on the agenda. Delegates wishing to vote for this motion, please raise your placards high. With an overwhelming majority, this motion passes, and now we'll move directly into the substantive voting regarding the draft resolution KMUN-A1. This will be a roll call vote, so when each delegation calls out, they have 6 options. Yes, yes with rights, no, no with rights, pass and abstain. Delegate of Bolivia.
Yes.
Delegate of China.
No with rights.
France. Mexico.
Yes.
USA.
Yes.
UK. Now we'll move to the second round of voting for those who have answered with pass. Delegate of DPRK.
No.
With 6 votes for, 2 votes against, and none abstaining, this resolution passes. And now we'll entertain the delegate of China for his with right speech. Please approach the podium, and the delegate has 30 seconds.
The People's Republic of China is sad to see that this resolution has passed. First of all, the delegate of China has voted against this resolution due to some of the more serious sovereignty issue-related clauses. Let us look at operative clause number 2, where we try to abolish UN's official languages such as Arabic, Chinese, and French. First of all, why are we not abolishing Spanish? It's also one of the UN official languages. Second of all, Arabs and Chinese and French speaking nations consist probably around 2/3 of the United Nations countries. One of the also things that offended China was operative clause 3, subclause C,
Please come to your closing
making
remarks.
a certain English proficiency a prerequisite for any procedures. That means that is making our historical language into our secondary language and making English as our primary and going against our history and cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Please return to your seat. The draft resolution KMUN-A1 passed. The debate on the agenda is now closed.
Okay, so the 3 main procedures happened just now after the draft resolution was introduced, were the procedures that were needed to entertain in order to end the debate about the same resolution. It was a sort of a very abrupt ending, sort of like a Korean drama, but because this was simulation, this was necessary to make the three main procedures all be seen at once. So if we go over the procedures all at once, one by one, the first one was a motion to adjourn the meeting. This was taken place when the committee time designated for a session has near its ending time. So the delegate of France has raised a motion to adjourn the meeting, and then what happened next was the lunchtime. So for all committee sessions, there is the designated amount of time, and when that time is less than 30 minutes, you delegates may raise a motion to adjourn the meeting. This indicates that by passing this motion, the delegates are no longer restrained from sitting in their committee rooms. It just means that their debate is temporarily adjourned for the session. And then what happened after lunchtime was a motion to close debate on the agenda. As the name close debate implies, the motion acts in order to close what the debate has been going on. Because there were a lot of delegates who have spoken about the agenda, some delegates have spoken for the resolution, some delegates have spoken against this resolution. A committee in all the committees may eventually result into this motion on closing debate. When this happens, the committee enters into a voting procedure. The thing that can be confusing to the delegates is that if you have noticed, voting procedure took place 2 times in a row. First, there was a voting procedure to whether to pass a motion to close debate or not. And second, because the motion to close debate was passed, the procedural vote about voting whether to pass this resolution or not was taken place. If you get what I'm saying, the first thing was as we go for all other motions, as we did for other motions such as motion to set the speaker's time, motion to set the agenda, the committee has gone into a procedural vote. After that, after the motion to close debate has passed, the next procedure was the committee to vote individually on the resolution, whether they should pass or fail the resolution. In detail, the procedural votes on the resolution can be differentiated into 6 options. As the delegate has demonstrated a lot of options, pass, with rights, they are all diverse functions, and the with right speech, which was made by the delegate of China, was used because China used in order to let the delegate of China have 30 minutes to explain why he voted for the resolution in that way. If that delegate of China has voted no, and if that delegate was worried if his vote was going to raise a lot of confusion to the committee people because he may be going against his original stance, or if he has changed his mind all of a sudden, if he felt that he needed to explain his vote, he would use with rights. So with rights means that you are given rights to explain the vote that you have just said. So these are the 3 complicated but nevertheless necessary measures that are used to end a committee debating about one agenda. Going over again, there was a motion to adjourn the meeting, and second, there was a motion to close debate. And then after that, there was a substantive vote on voting whether yes or no about the resolution. So this concludes the simulation of the orientation part. And now I would like to summarize our orientation with a few announcements. If you have access to the KMUN website, www.kmun.net, you can access the document library section where there are a number of necessary documents that all delegates must take note of. The first one, as you should already know, is the position paper, of which the deadline is January 7th. Remember to submit this in right format and with no plagiarism until this due date. Second is the release and waiver of liability that I have emphasized at the beginning of our orientation. And third is the rules of procedure. All delegates who want to know more about our rules of procedure may go through the rulebook very slowly in order to understand and have a more comprehensive understanding of the conference. The things that we have introduced were very basic ones, so after you have understood them fully, you can access the rules of procedure in our website, the document library, to know more about the rules of procedure. Finally, you can never ignore the online delegate forum. In this forum, able to be accessed in the KMUN website, is a place for the delegates to post their individual introductions and get to know the potential delegates of their same committees prior to the conference. And you can also exchange numbers, contact, also you can gain access to the agenda papers in the delegate forum, so please utilize them. And finally, the dress code has been updated and the updated version has been inserted inside your delegate handbooks. And this is also uploaded in our document library, so please look at them and check whether you are pertaining to our dress code before coming to our conference. Okay, with now, I would like to conclude the delegate orientation for Korea Model United Nations 2013. Thank you very much for your attention and thank you for your